Kudlow Show. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Welcome back, everybody. So Iran's top negotiator says Tehran will not compromise in talks with the U.S. Parliament Speaker Mohammad Bagher Khalibaf told the Pakistani Army chief. The head of the Senate Armed Services Committee, Roger Wicker, said it's time to finish the job in Iran. Republican Wicker. It's a powerful committee. That's the funding committee. So let us bring in our friend and mentor, General Jack Keane, retired four-star, chairman of the Institute for the Study of War, Fox News senior strategic analyst, and Presidential Medal of Freedom recipient. I was in the room when he got it. General Keane, thank you. We're switching around, but we're nothing but flexible. We appreciate your time. And I thought the Roger Wicker thing was, Senator Wicker was very, very important as the chairman of the Senate Armed Services Committee, which is the funding committee, as you well know. And how do you see this story? I mean, it just seems like we're getting closer and closer to a new round of combat.
You know, Larry, I think it's actually in the last 24 hours, it's moving in the opposite direction. From what I've been told, there has been at least a preliminary agreement on a draft document between the United States and Iran.
Really?
The details are yet to come.
Oh, my God.
From what I've been able to pick up is that we will give them release of some unfrozen assets, some billions of dollars, and then there'll be a negotiated period, I think, of at least 30 days to deal with all the tough issues. More details to follow. We've heard this before, and it hasn't materialized, but this time it seems to have some legs to it. I'm telling you, for the sake of our audience, I understand on the surface why a deal may have appealing because it stops a war, but I think there are three major issues with it. Given what we're talking about here, the Iranians will look at this as the United States backing down the world's number one economic and military power. They've been able to get them to stop a war and stop continuing the war against them, and that will empower them. Don't expect moderation to come from them, like some people are saying, well, we can set the framework with Iran and establish a new relationship. That's what Obama was talking about, and that failed miserably. They'll be able to suppress their people more and have leverage and actually more power in the regime, even though they're weakened militarily and economically. They will see this deal in the United States backing down as giving them long-term strength, and the money eventually from finalizing the deal will enable them to recover and start supporting their proxies. And that's the second reason why a deal doesn't make sense. The third reason is, and you and I have discussed this, even if we sign on a dotted line and you have the Iranian signature and they agree to all the objectives that our president wants, does anybody really believe that they will not reverse all of them and undercut every single one of them going forward? Because that is who they really are. They will cheat, obfuscate, and do everything they can to recover their ballistic missile program, their nuclear program at covert sites, despite the fact we're going to have inspections. And they will funnel the money that they get to their proxies. So I think returning to combat operations is absolutely the preferable option. I understand the political and economic pressure on the administration to kind of stop it, but in the long run, I think it's a strategic disaster for us.
What about the red lines, the Strait of Hormuz, and the nuclearization and the enriched uranium? What about all that stuff?
Well, I don't know the details, but I can't imagine us even accepting a negotiation without the straits being opened. If we're going to give them money, I would assume the straits would be open and we'd have to remove our blockade. and then all the tough issues, from what I understand, and this remains to be seen because we're dealing with leaked information, and it's been wrong in the past. And oh my God, I hope it's wrong now. But the nuclear aspects, all the key ingredients, would be negotiated over time. And as we know, the Iranians have been steadfast in not agreeing to that, and telling us, well, we will agree to it, or we can work through it and come to a satisfactory mutual understanding. Whatever words they use to convince our negotiators that there really is a promise and an expectation that our objectives will be fulfilled, I think is completely hollow. They've been at this for 6+ weeks, and what have they achieved? They've achieved exactly what they wanted. They shut down the war because they shut down the Straits of Hormuz, and they just wanted to delay the negotiations to have the pressure build on the administration politically and economically to get them to make more concessions. And that seems to be the path we're on.
Well, wow, this is all new to me. I mean, President Trump, so he's going to make a deal, and we're going to wind up giving them money, and then there's going to be another 30-day negotiation? That's crazy.
That's what I'm being told. I haven't seen it myself. There's been false information like this, recently, and thank God it turned out to be that, false information, not reliable. But these are coming from reliable sources. So we're going to have to wait to get the details to be sure, Larry. But just on the surface of it, to me, walking away from the opportunity we have right in front of us in 10 days to 2 weeks to finish this offensive operation, go into a defensive operation to open and maintain the Straits of Hormuz, and really weaken this regime so that they're vulnerable to their people. In other words, take away every piece of their revenue source and force an economic collapse. That's what we can achieve. And that seemed to me what we started out originally, weaken the regime so they're vulnerable to their own people. That objective is achievable. And we appear to be walking away from it if this leaked information about a potential deal in the offing is true.
You got all these oil analysts talking about how they might have another 10 days, but they're losing storage space for their oil. They're not going to be able to. They're actually talking about oil spills. They may be spilling oil into the Persian Gulf or the Arabian Gulf. In the blockade, we would give up the blockade. We would end the blockade. I mean, it's a gift.
None of that makes any sense to me.
Wow.
We don't know the details. I mean, I can't imagine us even going into an agreement to go to negotiations. I mean, we've been in negotiations for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And now we have an agreement to do more negotiations, but there has to be something in the agreement that we don't have now, like open the straits, open the blockade, and I've been told we give them some upfront money. We have to see the details of that, so you and I are speculating here. But I wasn't going to keep this to myself and keep it away from you and your audience, based on the fact that it is reliable sources that are passing this information around.
And Senator Roger Wicker just came out and said we got to finish the job. He's the head of the Senate Armed Services. I mean, among other things, the Republican Party is going to be badly split over this.
I totally agree. I mean, you know the politics of it better. I talked to Chairman Wicker yesterday on a different subject, and
what did he say?
And he brought this subject up. He and I are on the same page. We are in 100% agreement, on the futility of making a deal and what it really means to the Iranian regime. And as he said, General, we know they're going to cheat. I mean, even no matter what we sign, he said it in his statement, it's not worth the paper it's on, because we know they're going to cheat. And we're going to convince ourselves because we have anywhere, anytime inspections, and we're going to be able to do this and verify. But they're going to do things that we don't know about. They do this covertly. We only found out about the Fordo site and the underground site at Natanz, those two sites, we found out that from informants about that. They were deceiving the IAEA that they had secret sites where they were building nuclear capability. It was likely people who were working at those sites that gave information to part of the Iranian resistance who gave it to the Mossad. And that's how we got that information. So we know they're going to do that again. If they don't, they probably have the areas already designated, to where they're going to do this, despite the deal and despite all the verifiable plateaus we have in the deal. That's who they are. And that's why you can't trust them. After 47 years, we have the same experience dealing with these people now that we had with the Soviet Union. And you get to know who these people are. And they clearly are that.
Well, yeah. But just back to the politics and the oil. Is Iran going to let hundreds of oil tankers go through the Strait? That's the only way you get oil prices down, and therefore gasoline prices down, and therefore presumably help the midterm elections because you get gasoline down. Yeah, you have to completely open. You got to get hundreds of ships sailing through. Other than that, you'd get a few bucks of decline in oil prices, but that's all you get. This deal opening up the Strait of Hormuz with certainty?
Well, I would imagine the Straits of Hormuz, that's got to be job one. That they have to open that up and get those ships moving. Yeah, sure. And we would obviously have to shut down our blockade as part of that deal. Yeah, there's over 1,000 ships that are tied up in the Gulf right now. You're absolutely right. And we had over 100 passing through on a daily basis, but as part of normal trafficking. So we would have to get back to that. And as you indicate, it'll take some time, for pricing to make the adjustment to all of that. Plus, there's the 30-day window that this thing may blow up on us again. So there's always going to be some skepticism, about whether there really will be a final agreement, not just a preliminary agreement. Yeah.
This is stunning information or stunning rumors, whatever. I don't know what to make of this, honestly. Geez,
I just hope I'm wrong.
Yes. Wow.
I hope that the sources that provided me the information don't know what they're talking about, but these are people who do know.
All right. We'll leave it there, General. It's stunning, but I'm going to check on this. Anyway, listen, we appreciate your changing your schedule for us very much, as you always do. You're wonderful. I hate to say I hope you're wrong, but I hope you're wrong, General. Honestly, I hope you're wrong. Anyway, folks, General Jack Keane, thank you, sir. As always, we appreciate it. We're going to take a break here, folks, and we'll come back. We're going to talk to John Carney about the Federal Reserve. I'm still digesting General Keane's latest information. I'm Kudlow. Please stick around.
The Larry Kudlow Show on the Red Apple Podcast Network.